Uber burned through $33.5 billion in investor capital before finally posting a real profit. In 2008, two computer engineers, Travis Kalanick and Garrett Camp, found themselves stranded in Paris, unable to hail a taxi. It was a simple frustration, but it sparked a vision for a service that would eventually disrupt global transportation. They founded UberCab in San Francisco in 2009, pitching it as a luxury app-based alternative to the traditional taxi. By July 2010, the company processed its first ride request. But the welcome was cold. San Francisco's transit authority immediately ordered them to stop and threatened the founders fines and prison time. This was the beginning of Uber's defining strategy: move first, apologize later. In October 2010, the company rebranded as Uber and began a relentless global expansion. By 2011, they hit New York and Paris, taking on the iconic yellow cabs. To fuel this growth, they didn't just rely on revenue, they relied on venture capital. Early bets came from the heavy hitters: Goldman Sachs, Jeff Bezos, BlackRock, and Google Ventures. To understand how Uber grew, you have to understand the mechanism of the burn. In the tech world, burning is when a company spends its investor capital to acquire users and market share faster than the business can actually make money. Uber didn't just burn, it incinerated. By 2013, they were in 40 countries. By 2014, they were in 250 locations. They introduced UberX, a lower-cost version of the service that became their most popular offering, making the app accessible to the masses. But this growth came with a staggering price tag. From 2016 to early 2023, Uber piled up nearly $30 billion in operating losses. In total, the company burned through $33.5 billion in an attempt to replace the taxi industry. The goal was simple: achieve a monopoly on the ride-hailing market. If they could drive out the competition and become the default way the world moves, they believed they could eventually raise prices and turn a profit. However, the aggressive culture fostered by Kalanick created a trail of chaos. The company faced a barrage of scandals, sexual harassment allegations, customer data hacks, and legal battles over whether drivers were employees or independent contractors. In 2017, the DeleteUber hashtag went viral after the company used surge pricing, a mechanism that raises fares during high demand. During a New York City taxi strike, the internal rot peaked when former engineer Susan Fowler alleged that sexual harassment complaints were ignored. After an investigation into 2 to 15 staff complaints, 20 employees were fired, and Travis Kalanick was forced to step down as CEO, replaced by Dara Khosrowshahi. Even as the leadership changed, the financial bleeding continued. Uber's IPO 2019 was widely seen as a flop. The company was losing money on almost every trip, subsidizing the cost for both the rider and the driver to keep the network growing. The scale was immense. By 2016, it took 5 years to reach 1 billion trips, but only 6 months to reach 2 billion. By 2018, they hit 10 billion total trips. For over a decade, the world wondered if the math would ever actually work. The turn finally came in 2023. For the first time as a public company, Uber reported an annual profit of $189 billion. They had finally stopped the bleed. By 2025, the transformation was complete. Uber's market capitalization reached $166 billion. The company now coordinates an average of 42 million trips and delivery orders per day, with a total of 72 billion since its inception. They've expanded beyond cars into food delivery with Uber Eats and are now partnering with companies like Vidya and Lucid Motors to launch robotaxis. But the victory is bittersweet. While Uber finally posted a net income of over $10 billion by 2025, the cost of that profit was $33.5 billion of investor cash and a decade of legal and cultural warfare. Uber proved that you can buy a market if you have enough billions, but it took 14 years to figure out how to actually run a business.